Hey, welcome back to Conversion and Analytics Solved. I'm Ivan Pika, the founder of the CRO Analytics Lab. So, today's episode, this one's been on my list for a while actually. We're going to talk about how to find the weakest point in your funnel. And I don't mean in some abstract, think about your customer journey kind of way. I mean literally, here's a number, here's a benchmark. Is yours worse? Cool, fix that one first. Because here's what I keep seeing with clients. Someone comes to me and says, our conversion rate is bad. We need to fix the checkout. And I go, okay, let me look. And 9 times out of 10, the checkout is completely fine. The problem is 3 steps earlier. They're trying to fix the wrong thing. So the framework is that simple. Map your funnel. Compare each step to a benchmark. Find the step where the gap is biggest. Fix that. Not the one you feel like fixing. The one the data says is broken. We'll go through e-commerce first, then SaaS. And if you're SaaS only, stick around for the e-commerce part. Anyway, it'll take like 10 minutes, and honestly the thinking translates. Alright, let's get into it.
So every e-commerce store, doesn't matter what you sell, supplements, furniture, fashion, survival kits, the funnel is basically the same. Someone lands on a page, they browse, they maybe add something to cart, they start checkout. And they either buy or they don't.
At every step, people fall off. That's how it works. The question is, where are you losing more people than you should be? First leak, the landing page. Someone clicks your ad, hits your site, and bounces. Gone. Shopify's 2025 data puts the average e-commerce bounce rate somewhere between 36 and 47%. If you are below 40, you're doing well. Above 55, something's wrong. And this is important, not all pages are the same. If someone lands on a blog post, a 60% bounce rate is fine. They came, they read, they left. That's what blog posts do. The real question there is, does that blog post have any path to a product page at all? Because if a blog brings 40% of your traffic and there's zero bridge to your products, that's not a bounce rate problem. That's a missed opportunity. Category pages, so collection pages, should be more like 30 to 45%. If you're above 50, I'd look at a few things. How fast do products load? Do the filters work on mobile? And here's one I see all the time. Does the first thing people see actually match what the ad promised? I had a client where the Google shopping ad showed a $49 item, but the category page sorted by newest first. And the first product visible was $300. Instant bounce. Took us 5 minutes to fix. Huge impact. Product pages. This is where intent is highest. Someone specifically clicked on your product. Bounce here should be 20 to 40%. If you're above 45, it's usually one of 3 things: slow loading, bad images, or price shock. And actually, before you even look at bounce rate on product pages, check scroll depth. If you have heat map data from Hotjar or Clarity, at least 50 to 60% of visitors should scroll past the fold. If only a quarter of people scroll, your above the fold content isn't pulling them in. That's your first problem right there. Okay, next step. Add to cart rate. This is the first real signal that someone is actually interested in buying. Dynamic yield. They're owned by MasterCard now. They aggregate over 300 million sessions from 400 plus brands. They put the global average at about 6.3%. Blend commerce, which pulls mostly from the Shopify ecosystem, says 7 to 8%. I'd use 7% as your working number. Below 5, you've got a problem. Above 10, nice. Keep going. And it obviously varies by what you sell. Food and beverage hits 13-14% because people reorder stuff without thinking about it. Luxury and jewelry, 2.5 to 3.5%. Nobody impulse buys a $2,000 watch. So you gotta know your vertical and adjust. But if add to cart is your weakest step, if your number is way below the benchmark for your category, the fix is almost always on the product page itself. Better images, clearer pricing, visible reviews, a call to action that doesn't blend into the background. It's a persuasion problem. People see the product and they're just not convinced enough to even put it in the cart. Alright, cart abandonment. Someone added a product. They showed real intent, and then they just vanished. This is probably the most studied metric in all of e-commerce, and the numbers are still brutal. Baymard Institute. These guys have been tracking this for 14 years. They calculated an average of 70.2% across 50 different studies. Dynamic Yield's real-time data shows closer to 77% for 2025. The gap is methodology. Baymard averages across studies. Dynamic Yield tracks live on their platform. Both are legit. So, if you're somewhere between 68 and 75, you're normal. Below 65 is actually good. Above 80, your checkout is bleeding, and that's where I'd start. Now Baymard also surveys people on why they abandon. And if you exclude the 43% who just say, "I was browsing," which, fair, some people use carts as wish lists, the top reasons are: number 1, 39%. Extra costs they didn't expect. Shipping, taxes, fees. They get to checkout, and suddenly the price is different from what they thought. Number 2, 19%. Forced to create an account. Number 3, also 19% delivery too slow. And here's the one that gets me. 17% say checkout was too long or complicated. Okay, fine. 17% doesn't sound that dramatic. But then Baymard benchmarked 60 of the top e-commerce checkouts in the US and Europe, right? And found the average checkout still shows 23 form elements by default. 23. And most of them could cut that by 20 to 60% without losing anything important. And 62% of those top sites still don't make guest checkout the most prominent option in 2025. It's kind of embarrassing, honestly. Their estimate is that better checkout design alone, not new traffic, not new products, just making checkout less annoying, could lift conversion by 35% for the average large e-commerce site. They put a dollar number on it too, $260 billion in recoverable revenue across the US and EU just sitting there, waiting for someone to remove 3 form fields and a mandatory account creation step. So, after all that, some percentage of visitors actually buy something. Shopify's platform average is 1.8 to 2.1%. IRP Commerce, they publish monthly e-commerce market data, showed 1.58% for October 2025. The commonly cited healthy range is 2 to 3, and Shopify themselves say if you're above 3%, you're among the best converting stores on their platform. Below 1%, something fundamental is broken. And instead of guessing what, you should walk through each funnel step like we just did and find out. So, here's where it all comes together. You take your numbers, you compare them to what I just walked through, and you find the biggest gap. Let me give you an example. Say you're an apparel store. Your product page bounce rate is 38%. That's fine, right in the normal range. Add to cart rate is 4.2%. That's way below the 7% benchmark for fashion. Cart abandonment is 72%. Pretty normal. Overall conversion is 1.1%. Low, but now you know why. The overall conversion being low isn't some mystery. It's caused by the add to cart problem. Your checkout is fine. Your landing pages are fine. Your product pages just aren't convincing people. So that's where you focus. Not the checkout, not the ads, the product pages. And then you can go one level deeper. Is the add to cart problem worse on mobile? Worse for a specific product category? Worse from a specific traffic source? Keep drilling until you find the most suffering segment. That's where you run your A/B tests. Not on things that are already working fine. Okay, that's ecommerce. Let's switch gears. So, SaaS funnels look different, but the thinking is identical. Find the step, find the gap, fix that first. The funnel goes landing page, then sign up, then activation, trial, paid user, and then recurring payment. 6 steps. Let's go through them. A visitor hits your page, scans the headline, maybe glances at pricing, and decides if you're worth giving their email to.
First Page Sage, this is the name of company. Put together a nice data set here. 86 SaaS companies, about 70% B2B, 30% B2C, data through Q3 2025. For opt-in trials, where you don't need a credit card to start, about 8.5% of organic visitors sign up. For opt-out, where you do need a credit card upfront, it drops to about 2.5%. From paid traffic, both numbers come down, roughly 5 to 7% for opt-in, 1.5 to 2% for opt-out. If you're below 2% with decent traffic volume, your landing page probably isn't communicating value well enough. Features instead of outcomes. You know the type.
But honestly, for most SaaS companies, visitor to sign up is not the real bottleneck. Even average performers get a reasonable flow of signups. The carnage happens at the next step. This is activation. Okay, I'll just say it. This is the most important step in the entire SaaS funnel, and it's the most neglected. Activation means the user actually did something meaningful with your product, not just logged in, not just clicked around. They completed onboarding, or ran their first report, or whatever your aha moment is. UserPilot publishes a SaaS product metrics benchmark report every year. Their 2025 number for average activation rate, 37.5%. Let that land for a second. Almost 2/3 of people who sign up for your product never experience its core value. They signed up, they logged in, and then nothing. You spent money to acquire them. They gave you their email, and they never got to the part where your product is actually useful. Now, OneCapture did an analysis of over 10,000 SaaS companies. The biggest differentiator between median companies and top quartile companies? It's not their pricing page, it's not their ad spend, it's activation rate. Top quartile, 60% plus, everyone else around 35%. And they found that every 10-minute delay in time to first value costs you roughly 8% in downstream conversion. Intercom's research backs this up from a different angle. Users who complete an onboarding flow are 5 times more likely to convert than those who skip it. 5 times.
So if your activation rate is below 30%, I'm telling you right now, this is almost certainly the single highest leverage thing you can fix in your entire business. Forget tweaking your pricing page. Forget testing new ad copy. Get people to actually use the product first. The usual problems. Onboarding is a boring product tour that people skip. The product needs some integration or data import before it does anything useful, so the first experience is setup, not value. There's no email sequence pulling people back in. Key features are buried behind menus nobody clicks.
Now we get to the money part. Activated users pulling out their credit card. And this is where opt-in versus opt-out makes a massive difference. First page Sage data says opt-in trials, no credit card needed, convert to paid at about 18 to 25%. Makes sense, right? These people actively chose to pay. Nobody forced them. Opt-out trials, credit card required upfront, convert at 49 to 60%. Much higher. But of course, you got way fewer signups to begin with because nobody wants to enter their card for something they don't know yet. Freemium is a different animal entirely. Only 2 to 5% typically upgrade. Top performers maybe hit 10. OneCapture's 2025 numbers put the median B2B SaaS trial to paid at 18.5%. Top quartile at 35 to 45. And by vertical, Pulse Ahead's data shows CRM tools around 29%. IoT at 25, healthcare tech at 21.5, enterprise at 18.6. Trial length is interesting too. 7-day trials show the highest immediate conversion because urgency is real. But 30-day trials can produce higher total conversion over time because people get dependent on the product. There's no universal right answer. Depends on your product complexity. If people are activated but not converting, they used the product, they saw value, and they still didn't pay, usually it's one of these. The free tier is too generous, so they never need to upgrade. Or pricing isn't visible at the moment they're getting value. Or the trial just ends, like a cliff, instead of a bridge to the paid version. Quick note on retention because I'll do a full episode on this later. Healthy monthly churn for SaaS, 3 to 5%. Below 3 is excellent. Above 8, you're pouring water into a leaky bucket, and scaling just makes the leak worse. One thing I will say, if people churn in month 1 or 2, that's not really a retention problem. That's an activation problem wearing a disguise. They never got enough value. If they churn at month 6, 12, that's actual retention. The product stopped being useful, or a competitor showed up, or they outgrew you. Same drill as e-commerce. Map your numbers against what I just gave you. Say you're a B2B SaaS, opt-in trial. Visitor to sign up is 4.5%. Fine, that's within range. Sign up to activation, 22%. That's way below the 37.5 benchmark. Trial to paid, 19%. Fine. Monthly churn, 4.2%. Fine. The diagnosis writes itself. Activation is broken, and everything downstream, your trial conversion, your retention, your revenue, is suffering because of it. Fix onboarding, reduce time to value. Watch the improvements cascade through the entire funnel without changing anything else. Look, whether it's e-commerce or SaaS, the thinking is the same. Know your numbers at each funnel step, compare to benchmarks, find the biggest gap, focus there, then segment deeper to find the most suffering slice. Is it mobile users? Is it a specific traffic source? Is it a specific plan tier? And test at that point. Don't try to fix everything. Don't run A/B tests on your checkout if your product pages are the bottleneck. Don't redesign your pricing page if nobody's getting through onboarding. Work on the weakest link. Always. Alright, that's it for today. If this was useful, share it with someone who's currently A/B testing button colors while their funnel has a gaping hole somewhere else. You know who I'm talking about. See you in the next one.